Hello, welcome to the Scarlet and Rage podcast. I am Michael, the voice of reason. This is Jay, the voice of rage. I think there's going to be plenty of frustration and rage going around today. What a disgusting performance. 12 of you, welcome. Sorry we're coming to you late, but we definitely wanted to try and get to an episode out, if at all possible, to discuss this debacle. This absolute just dumpster fire of a game that we just watched in Columbus at Ohio Stadium. I am saying it is the worst loss of my lifetime. I know there's some other bad losses. I know that 96 Michigan is right there with it. We can debate which one is worse. This is every bit as bad, if not worse, than 96 Michigan. And Ryan Day has to go. I just want to go ahead and get that out there right off the bat. Ryan Day has to go. My romance with Ryan Day's over. It was short-lived. I wanted to give him a fair chance, and he proves time and time again exactly who he is. Those are kind of my opening thoughts, Jay. I would ask you how you're feeling, but I know not very good. Commenters, we're going to get to those comments in a minute. There's going to be a lot to talk about. Already see a lot of comments I agree with. We'll be with you momentarily. Jay, what are your initial thoughts on this? I know you're not feeling too good about it.
Michael, honestly, I don't even have my mic plugged in. I'm so upset here, but there are no words for this. And can you hear me okay?
Yeah, well, I can hear you.
Let me plug in my mic, man. Again, me and Michael, we didn't plan a show for today. There is no planning for something like this. There is going into the game expecting a win, and even me, with all of my doubts, I expected a win, Michael. But for the people that are wanting some kind of breakdown of the game, that's going to come in a couple of days because I have to watch the film. Michael has to watch the film. But this is not going to be an actual statistical breakdown today. I just want to start out and just say congratulations to Michigan before we say anything else. Congratulations to them. They were and are the better team. I want to make that very clear, especially at the end of the season. I made it very clear heading into this game that Michigan was playing their best ball of the year. Mm-hmm. And one thing I guess I didn't highlight enough is if you really look at the roster in a very close fashion at every single position group, Michigan had Ohio State beat everywhere except wide receiver. Even Davis Warren is a better quarterback than Will Howard. And I even said Davis Warren was playing well. He has talent. He can run. Will Howard can't run. Will Howard, let's be real, he's a bitch, but he's a reflection of the program. And there is some, and again, I have these signs here. These are put up for a reason. The swamp over here, the swamp sign right here. Well, this one's going down, so I guess I'm taking it down. But I think people can understand. Man, I'm at a loss for words, Michael. But I just want to make it clear before we get into anything. Michigan was the better team. They were the better team at the end of the season. They found their stride at the end of the year, and I'll leave it at that. Michael, I'll let you take over, and you just touch on that a little bit while I get my mic set up here.
Yeah. So got a lot of comments here. Got our Michigan fan, SW Line 26. Guys, I'll never understand how Michigan won that game. Assuming they let Ryan Day coach in the college football playoff, Buckeyes are going to have to win it for him to keep his job. Yeah. And, I don't necessarily feel this way, but I've already heard a lot of sentiment among Buckeye Nation, that there's a lot that even if he won a national championship, it would feel kind of gross. I don't necessarily feel that way, but I do understand that losing to Michigan is a sour note in the season. It's hard. It's a sour pill to swallow, and especially losing as the number 2 ranked team in the country to a 6-5 Michigan team that is only worse in the passing game. The only 2 teams worse in the passing game in the entire country are Army and Navy. And so we played a more talented Army and Navy today and got beat on our home field. It's a major cultural problem. It's a major cultural problem. People can say what they want. You can't hide behind it anymore. I mean, SW Lion, that's why we lost, because there's a major culture problem in Columbus. Shane Cup, this podcast is the only one that was acting like it wasn't going to be a blowout. Thank you guys for keeping it real. Appreciate that, Shane. We did certainly, give the caveat that this wasn't necessarily going to be a runaway game. Neither one of us saw it that way. I'm a little bit shocked it went as bad as it went, because if there's a way that you could draw up a plan to lose a game, like that's what you saw. That's what Ryan Day did. That's what he came with the season on the line in many respects, with his respect in Columbus on the line in many respects. He had a game plan that literally was as if you were trying to do your best job to lose this game and play into Michigan's strengths. And that's the way he played. He's a moron. I guess he was determined to win this toughness battle. Well, you know what? You're not as tough as them. Okay. So let that be settled. But you are quite a bit more talented, so you can still win the game. Just not by playing their brand of football and trying to beat them at it. Unbelievable.
I don't really know how to describe today. I was listening to some other podcasts earlier, and they're very milquetoast. And again, I have my own thoughts. I don't need to listen to other podcasts to form my own thoughts. If anything, they should be listening to our show and not the reverse. Tears had to be held back. Even right now, tears are held back right now. And I don't care if anyone calls me a bitch. I care about Ohio State a lot. It's a very sentimental subject for me. But I want to make it clear that this is not an analytical breakdown of this game. We need to look and see how we got here. We really need to see how we got here, Michael. How did we get here with a program with a new head coach in Ohio State? This problem with our program goes beyond Ryan Day at this point, Michael. We have absolutely broken down Ryan Day ad nauseum, backwards and forwards, and forwards to backwards. There's nothing left to say anymore about him. But we've called him to be fired numerous times. But I am just going to be flat out fucking clear here that left-wing politics have destroyed this program. Michael, left-wing politics have absolutely destroyed this program. It has destroyed the basketball program as well. This is a university that has some black woman as a commercial on Big Ten Network promoting DEI. I just happened to look up an article today about J.D. Vance's massive, he was very, very critical of the DEI department at Ohio State and how it's just a left-wing, just cesspool of just disgusting politics there. And I think that is, number one of the reasons why we are here, stuck with Ryan Day. Salty balls. Let's be real. This university right now prides itself, Michael. This university prides itself on its men's fucking soccer team. Let that sink in.
Yeah. You know, so Jay, you know, I guess explain, how do you see the influence of kind of this leftist academic type agenda that has come into Ohio State, which I think it's clear is there in some respects. I don't know how deep it is or how bad it is. I can't really speak to that, but clearly it's there because, you know, it was a fight to play football in the Big Ten in 2020 when everybody with any kind of a brain knew, certainly with no fans, there was no problem with them going out and playing football as perfectly healthy young men. But we were gonna, you know, we were gonna not play that year because of, you know, because of the virus, you know, which the entire college football roster was not very susceptible to having major complications with. So yeah, there's definitely some problems. But how are you relating that to, you know, the issues within the Ohio State program? I guess just explain that for us.
Well, number one, let's start for how we have to go back in time here. And if we go back in the time and use the time stone that Doctor Strange provided to us from the Avengers movies,
Yeah,
who hired Ryan Day?
Gene Smith.
Gene Smith. What does Gene Smith promote on 97.1 The Fan?
I'm not sure.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. I
Well,
heard
yeah,
it plenty of times.
he was very much into that.
What did Salty Balls point out about Ryan Day about a week ago that I actually had no idea? I didn't really care to look into it. My eyes have been opened more so than ever, and I'm starting to see like real problems that, you know, the swamp needs drained here. But Ryan Day is a socialist. He's a socialist. That's not a joke.
Yeah.
You cannot be a Democrat, a registered Democrat in 2024. So
Well,
the average socialist, very soft. They talk a lot of shit and they can't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. I believe personally all of those apply to Ryan Day. Every single one of them.
well, I'll say this. Ryan Day does, and I don't. This is going to sound horribly critical of him, and I don't mean it that way. I mean, I really don't. It's just the way that I see it. You know, Ryan Day definitely, regardless of how he votes or what his, you know, deeply held political beliefs are, he comes across very much like you know, a northeastern kind of soft liberal. You know, kind of a wealthy, you know, northeastern liberal, you know, and not overly not overly tough, or, you know, a lot of the old ways. It seems like Ryan Day was done with that. Those were too hard. Those were too harsh. You know, just a softer type of approach. And I think we've all seen it, and it's been reported on by many people. And we've all hoped that it wouldn't, you know, cost potentially a national championship, but you know, I think today is a pretty good indicator that it is pretty infested in the program, and it's why, with all of this talent, even our wins are not satisfying with Ryan Day. Even the wins feel empty, and like there's just something lacking or something missing. Let's get a few of these comments. Shane Cup, I hope Ross Bjork isn't a liberal. SW Line, Ohio State should hire Mike Vrabel. He'd be a perfect fit to change the culture. I love Vrabel. I don't think Rage does, but I would very much be for a Mike Vrabel hire. Shane Cup, I hope Ross. Oh yeah, we got to that. Woody Bear, Urban Meyer, he pushed him for head coach. Yes, Urban Meyer did push him for head coach. He absolutely did. And yes, Shane Cup, we both agree. Urban made a terrible decision. I don't, you know, Urban Meyer wasn't the athletic director. It wasn't his job to find the next coach. The fans should boycott the playoffs, Slip and Skippy, if Day is coached throughout the season. SW Line, it's ironic. Exterior is greater. Coach Urban was against Michigan. He recommended the wrong guy. Yeah, it is. He recommended the antithesis of himself. Urban understood the rivalry. To Urban, he wasn't over there pissing his pants about whether he was going to lose his job. He was marching up and down the sideline like a lion, trying to will his team to victory because he deeply hates Michigan. Ryan Day doesn't have any of that because he doesn't. I've said this before in this podcast. He doesn't feel this rivalry viscerally. It's just an intellectual thing. He knows he's supposed to hate Michigan. He knows he's supposed to beat that team up north. I can't verify this, but it's been reported today that he was on shows in Columbus and said that losing to Michigan is the second worst day of his life, with the first worst being, I believe, like his stepfather committing suicide or something. It was something horrible. And so, according to him, it's deeply impactful and deeply meaningful, if indeed he did say that, which that's what was reported by some beat writers earlier today. But if he did indeed say that, it sure didn't show with his demeanor on the field. I gave him the benefit of the doubt because I'd seen some positive strides, I thought, in the Indiana game in his approach, in the Penn State game in his approach. I thought maybe Ryan Day's actually evolving and growing for the first time in 6 years. And it was short-lived because today was same old go in your shell Ryan Day. And we mentioned it on the last episode, I think, that he had this tendency to turtle up. Where did he go? Where did he go? And, I thought maybe he was outgrowing that. No, he was right back to it today. And boy, that feeling and that attitude and that presence and that energy permeated through that Ohio State Buckeye team. And they did the unthinkable. And it's all on Ryan Day.
Yeah. One thought to gather from that is with the hiring of Ryan Day under Urban Meyer, Gene Smith is the worst athletic director in the history of Ohio State football. For him to listen to Urban Meyer, remember Urban Meyer at the end of 2018, he was having mental health issues. For Gene Smith to listen to this man and not have some kind of legit coaching search. Again, if that's not red flaggish enough for you, then I don't know what people are looking at. I mean, that should have been, they did not interview anyone else. They promoted Ryan Day just to keep receivers like Garrett Wilson committed. And again, the 2019 class wasn't even very good. So I'm like, what are you doing? Again, Michael, we're getting, the point of this is the university itself has become a very soft left-wing culture, and they hired a head coach who is a left-wing scumbag. And I am not mixing my words. What Ryan Day's liberal bitch ass has done to this program, he has destroyed this program. Like any typical socialist, they destroy everything they fucking touch. He destroyed Ohio State. And right now, Michael, I am not sure how this program recovers because I have some ideas, but the problem is I'm not the one in charge here doing things. Ryan Day, right now, it is a absolute crime against nature that he has a fucking job. If you, Ohio State, were to want to be taken seriously at all, Ryan Day would have been fired the moment he walked off the fucking field. This is a disgusting disgrace to Ohio State, to the players. This is a massive cultural problem. And Michael, did you happen to see C. Grant on Twitter today? Tyreek Johnson, did you see their comments about all of this?
Not specifically. What did they say?
Tyreek Johnson basically said Ryan Day at halftime of the 2020 national championship.
I did see that.
Went into his little office and cowered away from the team like a little bitch that he is, and started blaming coaches. And then number 2, see, Grant today is saying how much of a bitch Ryan Day is. A lot of these players actually aren't even allowed back around the team. Do you know who the last coach was who didn't really welcome former players around the team, Michael?
Who?
John fucking Cooper. This is a disgusting disgrace. And I am sick of all of it. I am sick and fucking tired of all of this shit. I can't take this anymore. I mean, I'm done with the fucking program. And again, I'm going off on a beat right now, but honestly, they should, if they aren't going to fire Ryan Day, they should turn down a playoff spot. There's no reason for them to go to the playoffs and get killed. There's no fucking reason.
Yeah. So, the question is, why keep him? He is John Cooper.
Motherfucker, I'm pissed off. Fuck this shit.
He confirmed that today. Today was his moment, and he failed. And I don't think you should get another chance after this. Doug Maurice did a bunch of research trying to prop up Ryan Day. I listened to it this morning, and he said that in matchups when Ohio State is in the top 10 and Michigan is in the top 10, that the record against each other is 10 wins for Ohio State, 11 wins for Michigan, and 1 tie. So his point was, you lose games against top 10 Michigan teams. He said, but Ryan Day and Jim Maurice was trying to save Ryan Day, and he set Ryan Day up. He said Ryan Day hasn't had his John Cooper moment. He's lost to really good Michigan teams. This is a game that he has to handle his business, because this would be a John Cooper moment. And it absolutely was. This is 1996. I think it's worse. Why we know how this ends. Why bother with 97, 98, 99, and 2000? Why bother with it? Or 9, be done with it. We know how this ends. Maybe like Cooper after 96, who had a couple of nice bowl wins, maybe Day has a few nice playoff wins, in the next couple of years. But ultimately, we know where this thing's going. He's not the guy to lead this program. He's not the guy to take Ohio State where it wants to be. He's a guy that if he lucked his way into one national championship, it would be a miracle. And this was the season, I think, for him to do it. And he didn't do it. And he's not ever – I don't think he's ever going to do it here. I think it's time to cut ties. Who's the next Jim Tressel? Where's the modern-day Jim Tressel who can take this talent, who can coach it, who knows what Ohio is? I don't know. Maybe there's one out there.
Michael, Woody Bear just made a comment in here that stuck out to me. And I've been saying this for a while. He says, I don't think Ryan Day is particularly smart. I believe he has a very narrow intellect. Yeah, I've said that for a long time. I think I'm the only one who has openly questioned Ryan Day's intelligence, because his actions would tell me he's a literal dumbass. Like, it would not surprise me if he actually does have mental problems, and he should probably go get checked in. And that's not a joke. I don't think he has the mental capacity. He doesn't have the intelligence, because like a lot of liberals, man, they're all messed up in the head. They are really messed up in the head. Again, not everyone is crazy who votes left, but all the crazy people vote left. And it wouldn't surprise me if he has got some severe intelligence issues and mental problems. And again, he is not a fit for this team. I've talked ad nauseum, and we'll do a breakdown of this game in a couple days, like a full-on breakdown about each play and what this player did and this, that, and the other. But this episode's not about that. This episode is more state of the program. Where do we go from here? Why are we here? It's all of those. I'm looking at these comments now. 5 straight. And yeah, I don't think Ohio State's beating Michigan next year. So yeah, it will be 5 straight. Take his place. No, I don't want to be a football coach. I don't want to work more than 60 hours a week.
Jacob Evans, you guys won. Hats off to you. You're talking smack in the comments, and you have the right to. Best part is you guys ain't firing Day. Jacob Evans, I don't know about that. We'll see. I think history is going to repeat itself anyway. 1996, epic failure against Michigan, a team that probably was a little better than this Michigan team, but not a lot. Number 2 in the country, Ohio State's going to the national championship. They're going to play for a national championship. Whatever bowl they were in was going to be the national championship for them. And a loss to Michigan, then a defeating loss to Tennessee out of the SEC. I could see history.
Hey, Michael.
Yeah.
Your optimism, man. Where is it at right now? I know you've been Mr. Optimistic this year, and you've done a completely new leaf. But where are you at now? Are you still optimistic? Is Ohio State going to win the national championship?
No,
because they're not winning the Big Ten. You called them to win the Big Ten and the national championship. Well, one of those is gone.
I'm predicting that Ohio State plays Tennessee in the first round of the playoffs and repeats 1996. History literally repeats itself with a late season loss to an unranked Michigan team and then a loss to Tennessee, and you're done. He's going to John Cooper it, and then he's going to be fired.
Man, I know like a lot of people are saying Michigan's administration is very left-wing too, but Ward Manuel, man, that guy, he's doing all the right moves, man. I mean, for him, I think was he the one who brought in Jim Harbaugh? He is the one who brought in Dusty May, the basketball coach, who I thought that was a solid hire. Not a home run hire, but I mean, Sharon Moore's shown more than Ryan Day in 1.5 seasons. Sharon Moore's shown more than Ryan Day's had in 5 seasons.
Can I, Jay?
Yes.
On Wikipedia, you know that people can edit that whenever they want to. It'll get changed back eventually, likely. But it's already been changed in Ryan Day's Wikipedia that his father is Sharon Moore.
You know, I would laugh, but this is not. I'm not really in a mood to laugh about anything, man. There's really nothing funny about any of this.
Yeah.
Nah, that's fine. You can. I'm just saying that I'm not going to be laughing at anything. Michael, did you happen to notice the fighting on the field after the game?
Yeah, but I didn't care at that point. The only thing I noticed about that is Ryan Day standing there, and he didn't know what to do. He didn't even know what was going on. He says to somebody, "What happened?" or something to that effect. And yeah, it was just another pathetic.
Did you happen to see his face? Number one, there's a little bit to talk about this, by the way. So number one, I wish the teams would have fought more. I wish there was more blood spilled. I just wish that was the most fight Ohio State showed the entire game. And again, because these players at this point are acting on their own autonomy. They're not under Ryan Day's leash anymore. Now they're fighting for not their lives, but fighting for their pride, their own individual pride. And so they were separated from Ryan Day. And I have a suspicion that's why they actually fought there. Give Jack Sawyer credit by tearing down the Michigan flag. Good for him. He didn't really have a great game, but not a terrible game either. But
had the big interception.
That was a terrible thrown ball. And he had a heads-up play there. It was thrown right to him. So I wouldn't say it was a great interception. It was a heads-up play. A great interception would be like some kind of one-handed catch or like a jump ball or something. It was thrown right to him. I wouldn't call that a great interception. Heads-up play.
I just said big interception. I mean, any interception.
Okay, I thought I heard you say great.
No.
Also, I got to be honest, man. Along with like the team softness in the fights that I did see, and I wish they would have fought longer. It looked like a lot of Ohio State players were getting their asses kicked, by the way. In the individual fights that I saw, they were getting their asses kicked. I saw our players getting thrown to the ground and beat up more so than Michigan's. And that's a problem. That's a problem.
Jay,
that's a psychological problem. That's a toughness problem.
Jay, I emotionally detached at some point in the first half because I don't really know that it's fully sunk in yet. Because when I saw that we were literally going to do exactly what, like, just two basic fans, who last week said what you can't do. You're not going to be able to run at these two defensive tackles. And we run at those two defensive tackles all day. I emotionally detached, like at some point in the first half, because I knew the possibility of losing was really, really, it was there. It wasn't like some faint. It was a very present possibility. And I was so disgusted that I just kind of tuned out. And that's kind of still where I'm at.
D. Wilton, he's saying that we lost him because he says our hatred of DEI is stunning. Michigan beat us. Yeah, I'm not saying Michigan has, and they believe in DEI. I sound like a racist, or we sound like racist. Fox, feel sorry for you. DEI is all about racism. DEI is all about putting somebody's race before what they actually accomplish. So you can go fuck off with your mindset, you stupid motherfucker. D. Wilton in the comics. D. Wilton. I see it. Little bitch. Go fuck off with your fucking shit, communist bastard. Fuck him. Fuck her. Whoever it is. Anywho, we need to move on. There's a lot to discuss here. Michael, I will say this off topic. I really do. Did you see Ryan Day's face during that fight, though? Oh, actually, no, you tuned out. Ryan Day looked like a scared piece of shit clown. He just stood there stunned. He had no clue how to handle this. No fucking clue. He had no clue. Honestly, I've never seen somebody. Again, I've always called him a soft bitch, but even this was beyond anything I could have ever imagined. This guy is the epitome, and he exemplifies to the 100th percentile of what a fake tough guy is. He is a fake fucking soft piece of shit motherfucker. Fuck him. I wish that Michigan players would have got a hold of him and beat the fuck out of him, incapacitated his ass so he would never be able to coach again, because he is destroying the game of football. He's destroyed our fucking program.
SW Lion, Michigan shouldn't have tried planting the flag. I understand the emotions of the rivalry, but beating Ohio State should have been enough. Yeah, and I mean, I get that, but I also am not like totally opposed to it's a nasty rivalry, and, they've manhandled them 3 years in a row and now make it 4 right on the home field when nobody thought they would. And, I get, I think Michigan just wants it more. And so, they were going to go for it. They were going to go for totally disgracing their rival on their home field. They'd already done it. They were just trying to put the cherry on top. And, it's Ohio State's job to defend it, I guess. I'm not saying it was the right thing to do, but, they're clearly showing that they'll do whatever it takes. Whether it, and how stupid, it's why you and I never got into it. Thank God we didn't. How dumb would we look now to the cheating scandal? We never gave a bunch of weight to the cheating scandal. We always pretty much said, no, you got beat 3 times. You got beat 2 times in a row. And then the third time, it was mano a mano. There was no cheating. They didn't have the plays, and you got beat again. You got out physical and you just got beat again. And then now a 4th time. So, yeah, I mean, how ridiculous to talk about the cheating, as if whatever Connor Stallions was doing was the difference between Ryan Day winning those games. Of course it wasn't the difference. Was there an edge? I don't know. I don't care. But they won those games so badly that it wasn't that big of an edge, that if you have no Connor Stallions, somehow we win all 3 of those games. Like, that's just not reality, I don't think.
We are the only podcast who didn't really lend any credence to that whole thing. I don't even know what it is. I would rather just move on. And I've said repeatedly, I hope Michigan gets away with it, because Michigan is showing how you stand up to the corrupt NCAA. Michigan is, whether we like them or not, we are linked at the hip with them for life. It is a good thing that Michigan won the national championship. It is really a good thing at this point in time that Michigan's beating Ohio State. As bad as it is, if Michigan weren't good enough, we would be stuck with this clown Ryan Day losing to the SEC, which is probably worse than losing to Michigan, by the way. I would rather take a loss to Michigan than a loss to an SEC team on the big stage any day of the week. Any day of the week, because at least Michigan is a Midwest team and they're more blue collar. The SEC, I mean, is, you can respect them, but fuck them. Fuck them.
Yeah. Slip and Skippy, they fired Stallions before playing us, so that excuse is used up. Totally agree. Woody Bear, I believe he will have to leave Columbus. I agree. I think he needs to find somewhere else to go. I'd say Mississippi State's probably going to need a coach. I think Ryan Day probably really needs to go to the Big 12, where he can play almost arena league-esque type football and go back to his roots of passing the ball 45, 50 times a game, not having to worry about defense that much, just, being Mr. Offensive Coordinator. I think that's where he needs to go. Okay. Where we got? SW Line 26, Scarlet and Rage. You're the best college football podcast on YouTube. Thank you so much, SW. Caroline Cutter, Day looks scared for sure. Similar face as Scar falling from the rock and the Lion King. Yeah. He definitely did. He definitely did look scared, and looked extremely scared as the fight broke out afterwards. James, yes, SW, that's what life should be, not just sports. Okay, it looks like they're having their own discussion in there. Shane Cup, Michigan plays like underdogs. We play scared. Absolutely. It could not be any more clear that the leadership of Ryan Day had its fingerprints all over that game plan. It's not to absolve Chip Kelly. That was a horrible called game. Oh my gosh, that was bad. But
let's not delve into the play calling too much. We're gonna save like the actual football analytics for the next episode.
yeah,
We just need to talk about everything else this episode and how we got here, because this can't all be wrapped up in one episode. We just basically have to do a instant. Again, it's not so instant anymore. The game literally kicked off 12 hours ago, but at the same time, it's like we need time. Like me and Michael we've never done a Saturday night show, have we?
Mm-mm.
No, we've never done Saturday night. We've done like Sunday afternoon, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and I was saying all that to say this.
I don't know.
It had Ryan Day's fingerprints all over it. The game plan, the
absolutely.
The way the team played scared. That was his DNA infused into the program. Yep.
Gosh, man, I am really speechless here. Obviously it's common sense at this point. If you watch our show, most podcasts find one little glean of like optimism and they run with it. If you notice other shows, like they seem to always pander to the homer crowd, and I don't know why. It's probably because Ohio State fans, 85% are homers and don't know football. But again, this podcast, we've always been the opposite, because in my opinion, it's on the Ohio State staff and coach to prove to us, not the other way around. We don't, we shouldn't be the ones like fighting their battles. It's on them to show us that they can legitimately win big games and against good teams. And this is interesting. And Michigan fans, you can take this as an insult all you want, but Michael, by my letter of the law, today was not a big game. It wasn't. I said it before. I didn't think Ohio State, I came this close to picking Michigan to win, by the way. And in my gut, I thought Michigan was going to win for the sole fact that they weren't going to fuck up the way Indiana did, and they would still commit to running the ball and not get away from it like Indiana did, because I pointed out like Indiana was having a lot of success running the ball, and I said Michigan would have success running the ball too. But yeah, man, I completely just lost my train of thought. What the fuck was I saying?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where you're going.
Yeah, I have so many thoughts in my head that I just got off on a little tangent, and I feel like I had something really profound to say, and I lost it. I am just not in a good mental space right now, everyone. Michael, I'm not. I'm not in a good place mentally. I basically just took the rest of the day and just kind of sulked and just was like deep in thoughts all day. I wasn't really sad. I don't know if I was mad either. I was just kind of there. I was kind of there, but not there, you know, stuff like that. Man, oh man. Fuck, man. Just speechless, Michael. Just fucking speechless. Um, you know, I made mention of this before, but I think should Ohio State turn down the playoff spot? I don't know. This program is in such disarray. Oh, I know what I was going to say before. I was saying before that the game. I'm sorry, everyone. I am completely off base here. But the fact of the matter is, Michigan, by the letter of the law, was not a big game. Michigan was not a top 5 team. Michigan had, I think, 5 losses heading into this game. I believe they were 6-5. Now they're 7-5. By the letter of the law, this wasn't a big game. Yeah, I do believe Michigan was a talented team, but their ranking would not indicate that. And that's what I was saying. Ryan Day's whole thing was, he only lost to top 5 teams. Well, now he's lost to an unranked team. So double whammy there. There goes that excuse that Ryan Day only loses to highly ranked teams because he just lost to an unranked team at home.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah, so now he doesn't even have that going for him. So his 66-10 record is just meaning less and less. Yeah, I mean, it's still a good record. It's a great record if you have a national championship in there. It's a great record if the program's headed in the right direction. But it's a really unimpressive and empty record when you put it on the tapestry of Ryan Day's 6 years in Columbus. Just a lot of empty calories, very little that's satisfying in the Ryan Day era. And I don't see that changing. And so I think the best thing for the program is to let him sink or swim, which he'll sink. And the question is, how much rope does he have? I think if he goes and loses the first playoff game, he has to be fired. There is no question about it. He 100% must be fired. If he wins a
Michael,
playoff,
I have to stop you, man.
Yeah.
It has to be fired then. It is beyond a joke that he's not fired now. Why are we still here talking? We should be talking about honestly, next head coach candidates. Ryan Day has just been fired. Good news. That's what we should be talking about. We should not be talking about oh, well, if he wins a game, maybe. No. He needs to be fired now and put somebody else again. If Ohio State really cared about winning the playoffs, put somebody else in there. Have Brian Hartline be a figurehead. Have Chip Kelly be a figurehead. Have fucking James Laurinaitis be a figurehead. Somebody who is actually most likely going to be a part of the next coach's staff, and let's roll. And then during that time, you go find your guy who's going to take over for the future. And then if we somehow win a national championship, then you give serious consideration to who coached them. But Ryan Day should not have his fingerprints anywhere on or near this program anymore. You have to get rid of him now so you actually would have a chance in the playoffs. You aren't going to win a game, most likely in the playoffs with Ryan Day. He has got to go. And again, that's not going to fix all of the culture, but maybe, just maybe, these players will elevate and rise up for somebody they do believe in. Because I promise you, Michael, the atmosphere right now with this team reminds me it's identical and probably worse than the 2000 Outback Bowl to South Carolina. Ohio State lost, and then Cooper was fired. That team was lifeless. They didn't care. the players were fighting each other? Because if reports are true, our players are fighting each other in the locker room. These guys do not respect Ryan Day. They do not want to play for Ryan Day. They need to fire him now. Get this thing reset, and then you go try your best in the playoffs. You're probably still not going to win, but you'd have a better chance with somebody else rather than this sick fuck.
Okay, Jay, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, I don't think that's going to happen. I think obviously that's not going to happen. Ryan Day's going to coach the playoff game. Do I think it's a mistake? Yeah, I think it's time to move on. So I agree with you there. However, I just don't think that the administration is going to do that. So I'm trying to calculate, what are they thinking? I would have to think if he loses the playoff game, he's fired. I mean, surely to goodness. And I would have to think if he wins one playoff game and loses the next one and goes 11-3 with this team, with his $20 million roster, he's still fired, because this is now a game of big money, big donors, and people aren't going to want to continue to put money to fund a program that spends $20 million on a roster and does this. And so, he has to go quickly. So I couldn't think that an 11-3 could save him. I'm a little bit worried that a 12-3 could save him. That if he won 2 playoff games and made it to the Final Four, that they would justify giving him another year and not attacking that $37 or $38 million buyout. Time will tell, but that's what I'm thinking, is what is the administration thinking? And I guess right now, none of us really know.
It's hard to put ourselves in the shoes of socialists because they don't think straight. They don't think like the common man, because they're not the common man. They're a bunch of elitists and they're a bunch of hypocrites, and they just don't care. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about the players. They just care about them being on top of the mountain, doing whatever they want, however they want. And that's the problem. Drain the swamp. Ohio State needs to drain the swamp. Drain it. Again, nothing is ever going to get fixed. Nothing. I think the president right now, I think he's more conservative leaning, which is good news. Ross Bjork, I believe, is a conservative. I mean, I could be wrong, but you can't be an SEC athletic director and be a Democrat. I have a hard time believing it. Do I trust in Ross Bjork to be amazing at hiring the next head coach? I don't. Ross Bjork, I mean, let's not forget now, the Ohio State basketball team yesterday choked massively in a home game against the Pittsburgh Panthers. He was the one who promoted Jake Diebler. And I promise you, that team's not going to make the NCAA tournament. Again, we're stuck with a football program and a basketball program that are both underachieving. Both coaches need fired. Jake Diebler, unfortunately, has at least probably 2 years, and I don't think he'll make the tournament either year. This is it's a disgusting disgrace what is going on here. But I really, again, it really starts at the top, and Ted Carter's just going to have to drain the swamp. He's only been, just a little less than a year now. He's been at Ohio State, but I think he's hopefully starting to drain the swamp some there. But again, this is me wishfully thinking that he's a hardcore conservative, because he's not. The same problems are going to keep going on because, Michael, let's be real here. An SEC program would have fired Ryan Day after Georgia 2022. He would not have survived that. He would not. Most teams are firing their coach after that. I mean, you just can't. Again, he had just been blown out by Michigan, a massive choke job there. I was calling for him to be fired there. I didn't like him before that, but it was really Georgia 2022. I was completely done with him. We made it very clear on the Cotton Bowl post-game show last year and Michigan 2023 game that he needed to be gone, but nobody listens to us. If they did, then Ohio State probably be in a better place. Michael, anything to add to that? I'm going to fix this fucking Roomba over here. It keeps beeping.
Well, look, I mean, I kind of get why Ohio State did what they did. I mean, his first 3 years, he plays in a national championship game, wins a playoff game. Has one Michigan loss, and then year 4 has another very disappointing Michigan loss, and then the Georgia loss. But I understood the rationale. Well, he was 1 point away. He was right there with the best team in the country, the best team in the SEC. And so, you come back last year and it's the same, loses to Michigan, turns right around and loses disgracefully to Missouri. You could have fired him there. But what they decided is that they were going to go all in, that they were going to spend whatever it took to try and get him, every player that he could, I guess within reason or within $20 million, and, give him whatever coaching staff he wanted, paying $3 million to Chip Kelly to come in and be the offensive coordinator. I don't know if Chip's lost his fastball or what. Yeah, every advantage was rolled up to him. So they gave it, and then it's still been a failure. So that's why it has to end this year. You cannot continue it on. I can even understand the timeline up to this point. I'm not saying I necessarily agree with it or think it was best, because I think you and I know I saw the writing on the wall years ago. I just did not think this guy was a leader. I did not think he was the kind of guy that had what it took to lead the program. And I've been saying that since 2019. And I know that was premature. That was early. And nobody wanted to hear that. And so I went from a very popular poster on a particular Ohio State site to one of the most hated posters on that Ohio State site.
I don't think anyone's ever was hated as much as me.
Well, you were hated more than me, but of those that got to stay on the board, I was among the most hated.
Yeah, that's true. I think I've been banned 100 times.
Yeah. But, it was just because of my opinion of Ryan Day. And he's unfortunately proved it to be right time and time and time and time again. And there just can't be any more. I know that Shane Cupp, he said he heard that his buyout was 40 to 60 million. Shane, I mean, I'll try and verify that, but I read today, if the article is correct, that his buyout was somewhere around 38 million. So I hope that's the case. Hopefully it's 38 is better than 60, but that's what I read today. So for what that's worth.
I'm looking at some of the comments right here. I just want to, I looked up this quote I wrote. I didn't write it. I read it somewhere. Shane Cupp said, people hate people who tell the truth. Well, people hate harsh truths, realists, and people who call it like it is. People prefer comforting lies, nonsense, and bullshit than uncomfortable truths. Now, I don't understand why that is. I guess that's just a manifestation of society and what we have become. We're not, I really can't say that the United States is really a warrior culture anymore, man. And I know that's an interesting word to use, but it doesn't strike me like as a warrior culture. I mean, you just walk around in everyday life and you see these fucking soft people just everywhere. I don't know what else to say. I see it all the time. I mean, I talk about it with my essentially my sensei and somebody I really look up to and respect in life. And he can kick so many people's ass. And he's been all around this country and he sees like, when you take away the alpha males in society and stuff, like society really collapses. Another comment on here, Eric Hutton, Rage, you're not mad because Jay is a fraud. Today is just a manifestation of what you already knew. Yes, absolutely. Hit the nail on the head. Nothing today was really a surprise to me. I made it very clear in the previous show, don't be surprised if Michigan wins. The only reason I picked Ohio State to win is because I thought the home crowd would be the difference. But I didn't anticipate that the home crowd, and I did kind of say like there might be some anxiety by the home crowd, but it really felt like, again, I wasn't listening. It just felt like that crowd was really anxious and they were just really scared for Ohio State to not mess up rather than cheering them on to win. It just felt like that from the TV broadcast. And again, like, I said on a neutral field or at Michigan wins. In the bottom of my heart, I think I probably should have picked Michigan to win. Just too many things were going against Ohio State heading into this game. So many things were so many things were going for Michigan heading into this game, and just damn, man, it's a loss for words.
Hey,
Yeah,
Rage,
man.
I did look up and find out. I confirmed, at least according to the Columbus Dispatch, which I imagine would be accurate. They reported that Ryan Day's buyout is $37.28 million. So
That's chump change for Ohio State. Fucking pay it. Fucking pay it. It's not a problem. That shouldn't be a problem. What was Jimbo's buyout at Texas A&M? 80 million?
it was a lot more than that.
Yeah, it was a lot more. And
Yeah.
yeah, maybe Texas A&M has more money than Ohio State, but 30, Ohio State, okay, if it were 80 million, then Ohio State would be like, whatever. Oh man, it's just let me think here. Let me look at some more of these comments. Caroline Cutter, what is she saying? Defeated. Yeah. Oh yeah, man, just Ryan Day. You look at his face on the sideline. And again, I don't know how many times you can say this, but he just looks like a bitch. Like he honestly you can't tell me that guy is anything but a bitch. Like he is just a fucking coward. He is a coward, man, standing there while his players are fighting the other team. If you had any kind of balls on you at all, you get in there and you scrap with the Michigan players too. But you're just a fucking coward. And there's really nothing else to be said. You call football like a coward. You live your life like a coward because your voting registration says you do. And you're not somebody who's going to back your team up. Like, fuck, man, if you actually cared about your players, you would have got in there and tried to help them, not stand there confused. Like he looked the entire game. He looked confused. And again, like, I'm not trying to break down the game yet. But my God, Michael, the timeout at the end of the game, Ohio State having 12 men on the field, does that not exemplify the Ryan Day era more than any other player? What? Like, goodness gracious, man.
Yeah.
My God.
The little things with Ryan Day, the little things. And they're never there. And Will Howard is like the embodiment of that in a quarterback. Every game, he was going to do some disastrous thing. Eventually it's going to cost you when your leader is doing that every game. And every big game, Ryan Day is going to have breakdowns of the little, small details. And today was no other. It was no different. Right there, that could be the difference. If you stop him and get him off the field there, then you've got a chance. You've got time. You can really work your offense. But
I don't want to break down the game yet, man. I never felt good in the second half. I will just say this, right when Ohio State wasn't scoring with the wind at all in the third quarter, you knew the game was over because again, I'll break that down and there will be a time. Again, I am going to break this game down backwards and forwards. I just need time. I need time to look at it. I need time to have some clarity before I do that. And Michael does that too. Special teams, late term abortion type bad. But again, that's not surprising. Like it's been like that under Ryan Day.
Yeah, this is consistent.
Since the beginning. I mean, if you listen to this podcast, it wasn't fooling. I said all year Ohio State didn't have a kicker. If it came down to kicking, we're really fucked. I didn't hear anyone else saying that, Michael. The crowd, nobody else said that other than me and Michael. Nobody criticized Ryan Day for letting what the fucking hell, Noah Ruggles go on that little spring break excursion. Miss spring ball, Michael. Completely missed it. Came back to fall camp late, and this is the guy who's your starting kicker. This is the guy you put on the field in the Peach Bowl to beat Georgia. That is a terribly weak, soft culture. Just terrible in every way.
I mean, we struggle with punters too. I mean, our
punter,
special
teams and everything about special teams is an absolute disaster. I don't think Ryan Day has the faintest clue on how to coach it. I'm not saying I do either. I've never really played much special teams when I even played football, so I'm not going to say I know either, but find somebody who can.
Well, I know this, like I can have eyes and I can see that if a guy's not punting it more than 40 yards consistently, then I might want to keep looking and try and find a better punter. But, uh, yeah, not, those are the kind of things that are like the antithesis of Jim Tressel. Urban Meyer maybe not quite as good of a coach in that area, but certainly, he was a bit of a special teams fanatic, and at times his special teams made plays. Ryan Day's special teams never make plays; they do the opposite. They make negative plays on a regular basis. Think about that. A guy who's coaching Ohio State making $10 million a year, his special teams regularly screw up. That's unbelievable.
Well, yeah, it goes back to attention to detail. They don't have any in big games. But again, we've said that this is like beating a dead horse, shooting in the head, and then cutting its head off and feeding it to the alligators. We're beyond beating the horse, Michael. The alligator is trying to digest the horse now at this point. A horse that's been shot, stabbed, and decapitated at this point. Like, let's be real. This is all conversations we've had. And I feel like a fucking psychopath to have these conversations over and over again, because the definition of insanity is continuing to do the thing over and over and over again. That's like the definition of insanity. But I guess I'm not the one doing it, but I'm more the messenger here. You're more the messenger here. Man, oh man, Michael, people are pointing out some podcasts on here that they just don't agree with. Buckeye Huddle, I honestly, I tried to watch them back in the day, but they're such a joke that I just couldn't last more than 10 minutes watching it. It's it's bad. Buckeye Scoop is, the ultimate Homer podcast, I would say. Like every now and then I'll listen to them. They say, "Oh, we're realists and stuff." No, they're not. They're not realists.
Well, I think that I think their brand is hope, and for those that like that and want that, you always want to see the bright side. Then that's great. That's just not what we're interested in. We're interested in reality.
Interested in the truth. We are interested in the truth. That is what, again, that we're I made a point about this. We are the Alex Jones of Ohio State podcast, man. We are the truth seekers. We get into the nitty gritty that is uncomfortable to talk about, or people are too much of a coward to speak about. That is what this podcast is. The Alex Jones of Ohio State podcast, man. It's he says on his show, it's a really disgusting and dirty, some of the subjects are really disgusting and dirty to talk about, but somebody's got to do it. And somebody has got to do God's work and let people know about all the evil that is going on. There is real evil going on at Ohio State with DEI. I mean, that is very racist. DEI in its nature is extremely racist and is a Marxist, is a branch of Marxism.
Well, if according to Zach Smith, for what it's worth with him, and it's been some time since he's been there now, but he said when he was there that, there was a lot of good people at Ohio State and a lot of good people in the administration. He said, but there was a lot of very deeply rooted, kind of bureaucrats that just, had been there for years and really clogged things up and caused a lot of problems. And, those are your, those
he's not wrong. And the little bit I've listened to Zach Smith, I respect him a lot, but he's very milquetoast when it comes to his criticism of Ryan Day. Very milquetoast. He really watches what he says and stuff.
Yeah. Well, they've had somewhat of a personal relationship through the years. I don't
exactly. Again, that would be like one of us, criticizing one of our friends. Okay, I want to address something real quick. I see a lot of people asking for Mike Vrabel. Coming from a Tennessee Titans fan, that would be an absolute terrible hire for Ohio State. Mike Vrabel Nobody was worse in the NFL in big games than Mike Vrabel. You would basically be getting Ryan Day again. That is probably even less of a recruiter. Mike Vrabel is not the answer. They would go back to a very, very conservative style of offense that would not win in the big games. Yes, they might have some more success against Michigan, but rarely would they beat the SEC. You need a coach that is going to still keep a 21st century offense that also has attention to detail. That's what you need. Mike Vrabel's not that. Mike Vrabel, you go back and watch that 2021 Bengals playoff game, Michael. I know you were happy about it. Mike Vrabel is exemplified in that game. All the little things that we complain about Ryan Day, that's Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel would be an absolute F- disastrous hire. Keep him far away from the program outside of an assistant coach. He is not head coaching material for Ohio State. A couple names I see popping up on here. Marcus Freeman. Yeah, I would give Marcus Freeman a look now. He's had some time to grow at Notre Dame. But one name I want to throw out there, Michael, Sean McVay, the Rams head coach from your neck of the woods. I believe he's from Dayton.
Yeah.
Dayton, Ohio, man.
He played.
That's somebody I would very much look at.
He played at Miami of Ohio.
What do you think about Sean McVay, man? You've watched the NFL more than I do. I mean, he's a Super Bowl winner. Granted, he did it with like the ultimate roster, but he still won. Ryan Day just had a $20 million roster, and they're not going to win a fucking playoff game. They didn't beat Michigan at home.
And he's been to 2 Super Bowls. I think it would be great if he wanted to change the pace of life. I know that there's been reports about him being burned out and possibly wanting to take time off. So I guess that would be my only reserve with him is would he really be wanting to come in and get going with all of the recruiting and everything it takes in college? But if that answer was yes, then I would be all for that.
People are saying he hasn't coached college. So what? He coaches football. I believe Jesse Minter didn't coach in college before he came to Michigan and took over as defensive coordinator.
No,
everyone, again, he would have a lot of experience, and just his name alone would bring recruits to Ohio State. He would come in immediately with a Super Bowl ring and be able to recruit, probably even better than Ryan Day, just by the name itself. Like, his name rings nationally. He is an Ohio boy. He's young. He would be able to connect with the African American community. He would be the ultimate grand slam. I don't think it's going to happen, but if I were Ross Bjork and Ted Carter, I would go to Sean McVay and offer him a blank check. Blank, whatever you want, come here. Save this program. Save it from the destruction Ryan Day has done, that Gene Smith has done, because both of them were the ones that absolutely destroyed this program. Yes, I would take Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, no, I would take Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh is arguably the greatest college football head coach of all time. What he did with Michigan in 2023 was the most impressive college season I have ever seen.
McVay is making $15 million a year.
How much is Ryan making? How much is Ryan stealing from Ohio State per year? How much is he stealing from the college?
I think 10 or 11 now. But
okay, well then pay McVay $17 million to come over to Ohio State a year.
Yes, and listen,
pay Ryan Day's buyout, and then pay McVay $17 a year.
McVay is going to save millions of dollars in taxes by coming to Ohio to make that money as well, because in California he pays the millionaire's tax that everything over $5 million he has to pay another 13 or 16% California state income tax. So he'd save quite a bit of money, and he could come win a national championship or two. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love it.
No, yeah, I would say that would be the best. I'm looking at some of these things. Scarlet and blue. Looks like we have a new guy. Ryan Day stealing money. Yeah, what Ryan Day has done or not done, he's absolutely stealing. Southwest Lion. Mike Vrabel sucks, and quarterback or not, you expect better results than what he did in Nashville. Going back to the 2019 AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, he was terribly coached game. 2021 against the Bengals, terrible. Mike Vrabel is not the answer. I would give serious consideration to Marcus Freeman, though. I would.
I'm with you, Southwest Lion. I'm not near as negative on Vrabel. I think he's won. What's he won? 3 playoff games. Rage.
Vrabel?
Yeah.
He won
3 or 4.
He won 2. He's won 2 playoff games.
2?
He won the wild card, and then he won in the second round in 2019, and then he never won again. He lost in the AFC Championship game. The next year in 2020, he lost at home to the Ravens in another badly called game. Just despicable. The year after that, they had the best record in the NFL, lost at home to the Bengals. He won 2 playoff games.
Okay. All right.
So basically, his entire name is made off of 2019.
So he's got 2 playoff wins in the NFL, a winning record in the NFL. There's been a lot of mediocre NFL coaches that have done well in college. I'm still open to the possibility.
I want the best of the best at Ohio State. I can promise you Vrabel is not. I promise you he is not.
Maybe Vrabel. Yeah, I don't think Vrabel's coming as a DC. That'd be great, I guess. Day spreading money around his buddies, frying Kelly like it's government work. Yeah, that's true, Salty Balls.
Vrabel runs too much of a soft 3-4 for my taste. And Ohio State doesn't have the personnel to run the 3-4, and Vrabel's teams don't blitz enough for me. Jim Harbaugh is also an outward conservative, not a soft bitch. Yes, Jim Harbaugh is a tough dude, man. Jim Harbaugh is a weird guy, but he's a tough guy. Ryan Day is a weird guy and a not tough guy. Man, oh man, oh man. God damn, man. There are so many. There's just so much to say. But Michael, you know what? One thing I also want to say is, man, dude, this really ruined my Thanksgiving weekend. This ruined my birthday weekend. And this is really sad to say, but like my wife is taking me out to a surprise dinner tomorrow. I don't know that I'm really going to be able to enjoy it. I'm going to try, but yeah. This entire game and this manifestation of filth is going to be in the back of my mind, and I'm going to try to enjoy myself, but it's just kind of gone out the window. This ruined my future travel plans. Michael, Ohio State basketball was going to go to Atlanta for a basketball game in a couple weeks. I am not going to attend. Ohio State football was possibly going to go to Atlanta for the national championship game, and I was going to meet up with you there.
Yeah.
We're not going there anymore, man. Ohio State has ruined a lot of things with us. Future plans. It's really sad. And sometimes you just gotta do your best to, as bad as this is, to just grab your loved ones and hug them. And I try and do that some today, especially with my son and my wife, because they know how upset I am. And they know this is not a good time. This is a really bad time.
And at the end of the day, that's the important thing. This is it's passionate and it's important at the moment, but in the grand scheme of things, there's many other things in life, than this. Let's get to a couple of these comments. What about the ASU coach Dillingham? I don't know. You know anything about him, Rage?
If he's talking about Arizona State, I don't know much about him. I know much about their season, and man, they play in a really weak conference, and they really did struggle with Mississippi State at the beginning of the year. So, I would need to look more into that. But honestly, again, I'm not a fan of getting coaches outside of the Big Ten and SEC. It's, I think you need to aim a lot higher than that. Getting coaches from lesser tier conferences, it's just asking for an absolute disaster. You go for the NFL, the SEC, and honestly, there's nobody in the Big Ten you go after. So honestly, it's between the NFL and the SEC. That is where you look. You should not be looking anywhere else.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I think they're wanting to, find somebody, if they made a move. I definitely think they would want to find somebody with Ohio ties. I don't think they would want to go with somebody, with no ties to Ohio again.
Sean McVay, man. I'm telling you, Sean McVay. And then, Marcus Freeman. You have to give Marcus Freeman consideration at this point because, Notre Dame, they're a very good team. They won't win the national championship. They lack too much athleticism. USC really got after them today. And if USC doesn't turn the ball over in crucial times, they win that football game.
Well, let me say this. Brian Kelly was a pretty good coach at Notre Dame. He's not been a really good coach at LSU so far. At least he's not had a whole lot of success. But Freeman has definitely leveled up Notre Dame from when Kelly was there. So, I will say that that's impressive. He definitely has some glitches, like the loss to the MAC school, the loss to Marshall. And there's certainly been some moments where it seems that he wasn't prepared. So that can be a little bit concerning. But maybe he's learning from it. Some people are able to learn and adapt and grow. Ryan Day, seemingly for whatever reason, at least at Ohio State, just wasn't able to do that. He just kind of kept making the same mistakes over and over.
Really interesting comment right here. Ohio is the birthplace of football and is our religion after Christianity. And when Ohio State fails like this, it hurts with a left-wing godless coach. Yes, it really does. Really, really hurts. Freeman can recruit. Marcus Freeman would immediately come in and save the recruiting class. All of these kids want to play for him. He's a young black guy. He's very well-spoken, and he's a tough guy. Marcus Freeman is a real tough guy. That is not somebody I would ever want to fight. Look how jacked that dude is. He's just the epitome of just tough, and he takes care of himself. Notre Dame, for the most part, seems pretty well coached. Now, I don't know what his staff is. I can tell you that it's interesting that with the success Marcus Freeman is having at Notre Dame and the lack of success by Luke Fickell, it makes you wonder, was Marcus Freeman more the one behind the success of Luke Fickell at Cincinnati?
Boy, Luke Fickell at Wisconsin, that's a whole different story. But it is not looking good for Luke in Madison.
Yeah, I never liked Luke Fickell, man. I made that very clear. I don't think he's a good coach. Wisconsin needs to fire him. Man, oh man, there are some bad coaches in the Big Ten.
I shared that.
Some really fucking bad coaches in this.
I shared that sentiment with you. I was never a Luke Fickell fan. I was never sold.
Luke Fickell, the Purdue coach, Mike Loxley, Ryan Day, man, like just going on and on and on. So many bad coaches. Like, fuck, man. Like, but Notre Dame losing to Northern Illinois, major red flag. But they have turned their season around. Their quarterback doesn't throw very well, but he can run well, and they figured out how to score points. I want to give a huge congratulations to Kyle McCord.
Yeah, I saw that he won.
He threw for like 400 yards and a couple touchdowns. Man, oh man, that's got to be a breath of fresh air for him. A lot of people are hating on him, not me. I would cheer for him wherever he went. I am so glad that he was able to get out of the grasp of Ryan Day, because I said it last year. I'm like, Kyle McCord just needs to get out from Ryan Day. And I said it a couple weeks ago, Kyle McCord would have been better for this offense than Will Howard, because once Josh Simmons and Seth McLaughlin went down, the running game was non-existent, especially against good teams. And you needed a quarterback that could basically sling it around on every play. And Will Howard, bless his soul, he's not that guy. He doesn't have the talent to do that. He doesn't have the ability to throw down the field. I was the first one to call that one, and I stuck by it. But my God, I told you, Michael, man, I told you, Will Howard cannot throw the deep ball, and he's not overly accurate. I could not have been more right about that. I could not have been more right about Will Howard.
Well, I'll say this. He absolutely has a weak arm. You were right about that. His arm is very weak. And playing in the wind today, exposed that more glaringly than, at any other point this season. Okay, let's see. Kyle was outstanding. SW line McVay would be a grand slam. Yes, I agree. Slip and Skippy more prove that Day was wrong on the quarterback situation. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, could have gone after Cam Ward, but seemingly Day kind of thumbed his nose at that, had no interest. Salty balls, may he eat rotten fish tacos. Rick S. Kyle McCord has a nice throwing delivery and release, even if he's a bit stiff and sometimes makes bad decisions. True. Why TF? Okay, why TF did we get Will Howard in the portal? I don't know, Shane. That's a good question.
Why the fuck is what he means.
Yeah. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, clearly Cam Ward would have been a difference maker, and Will Howard was, I guess, the safe route, and Ryan Day chose the safe route.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know, man. I just Cam Ward. I mean, I was thinking about Cam Ward before, and I don't know. It's just a bunch of excuses of Ryan Day. We should not try and look back on, what his decision making could have been, because it's never going to make sense to people with a brain, because Ryan Day doesn't have a brain. Yeah, Ryan Day, you can't just put yourself in his shoes. Because I don't know that Ryan Day, sometimes I wonder if Ryan Day gets out of bed and he's like, what's up is down and down is up type thing. I don't know. People are saying, again, Ryan Day lost to 2 NFL quarterbacks in Justin Fields and CJ Stroud. So blaming Will Howard is, really weak sauce, because Ryan Day has proven he can't get it done with NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's clearly a Ryan Day issue, not just the quarterback issue. I mean, Will Howard, if this team was really well coached, Will Howard is good enough to make a deep playoff run with. Win a national championship, I don't know, not 100% sure, but certainly make a deep playoff run with. But with Ryan Day as the head coach, not even that's going to happen, because no team's going to reach its potential with Day. That's clear at this point.
What's clear at this point is people are really needing a place to vent, and people need to really hear the truth. And the truth seekers, they're not going to get it from the regular media Ohio State outlets. You're not going to get it from Buckeye Scoop. You're not going to get it from the podcast. You're not going to get it from Buckeye Huddle. And at times, I don't know they're going to get it from Zach Smith's podcast. Everyone in the chat really needs to promote this show and get it out there. Like, you need to not just like and subscribe, but you need to tell your friends, your family, your loved ones, your pets. Get them all to start listening. Because we are bound, like, if we keep increasing in subscribers, our message is going to get out there. And Michael, man, no podcast has been more correct on the state of Ohio State than this one. Nothing has come close to what we have talked about, since the beginning of this show. We have constantly, always in the back of our minds, have been highly critical of Ryan Day and his lack of big success against the SEC and his success against Michigan. Everyone, you just need to really, just need to spread, this show around.
let's see. SW, I think they respect Laurinaitis, and Hartline are respected by the players. James, make him the interim head coach. Yeah, I'd be all for making James Laurinaitis the interim head coach. Probably not going to stay in that spot, but yeah, I mean, like we discussed, anything's better than going into the playoffs with Ryan Day. Who wins the next natty, Ohio State or Michigan? Oh, boy. I don't know. Probably not Ohio State.
I would say Michigan.
Yeah.
If I were to like gun to my head, I'll probably pick Michigan because, Sharon Moore is, I don't know if he's a good coach yet. A lot of people are saying he was a shitty coach. I'm like, well, we don't have enough time. People are saying he's a good coach now. I'm still saying we haven't seen enough. Just because you beat Ohio State and Ryan Day, this kind of sounds like inverse of what we were talking about, but I don't find all that impressive. Ryan Day pisses down his leg against Michigan, so I think you could almost put like my two cats, I have a blind cat. I think you could have put the headphones on my cat Tipsy, and she could have coached Michigan to victory today. It's not that hard. All you have to do is just run common sense plays. Don't fumble. Don't do stupid shit, and you're going to beat a Ryan Day led Ohio State team against the Winged Helmets. It's not that hard. So I know like a lot of people are really propping up Sharon Moore right now, but I would just be hesitant and be like, listen, you did still get blown out at home by Oregon. You got blown out at home by Texas just because, beating Ryan Day is really not all that impressive. like I'm just being real.
They did certainly, on defense, they were able to bring our O-line didn't block it super well. I mean, they were able to create some problems. So I give them credit for that. But yeah, I mean, other than that, they just played their game, and Ryan Day just played right into their hands. Unbelievable.
Scarlet and Blue saying this seems like a whiny show. Well, fuck yeah, it's going to be a whiny show. Ohio State, all they do is lose. Do you expect us to not be upset? Like, what are we talking about here? Are you expecting us to not have emotions? Like, that is such a really dumb comment right there, but whatever. Yeah, Ryan Day doesn't give a fuck about a lot of things. That's why he's like the worst coach in Ohio State history. Damn near.
And I heard that the one kid staying at Tennessee, speaking of offensive line, he's going to stick with his Tennessee commitment. So that was all.
Oh yeah. Ohio State honestly needs to fire Ryan Day, and honestly, you're just going to have to take the lumps of this recruiting class because you're going to lose half of the class, and then next year is going to be a rebuilding year. So what? I mean, so what? You're going to have to take 2 steps back to be able to eventually elevate 3 steps forward.
If you could get a good coach, it would be refreshing to watch something improve and get better, even if that's 9-3 or 10-2 the first year, as opposed to continually watching something like try to hold together and just kind of continue slowly sliding down the track.
Yeah, Michael, you made a good point that, we all were upset with John Cooper, but John Cooper actually elevated the program from where it was when he took over.
He did.
What has Ryan Day done? Ryan Day has not elevated the program at all. They basically have remained the same. They were a struggling program in 2017, 2018, and really 2016. Ryan Day really hasn't elevated the program. He had a decently solid 2019 season, but, the Clemson game happened. And then after the Clemson game, you're like, wow, there are some serious, serious red flags there. And again, I pointed to that game for a long time because that was the game where I looked at it and I was like, holy shit, what the fuck did we just do on offense during this game? What the fuck are we doing on defense in this game? And yes, salty balls. I made mention of that. Tyreek Johnson, former 2018 recruit from Trinity Christian Academy in Jacksonville, Florida. He's the one with that tweet today. Apparently he was going and criticizing the coaches. Shane Cup, I agree. We can lose recruits. It's not like we're winning with 5-star recruits right now anyway. Right. We don't look at things with rose-colored glasses. You speak the truth. I appreciate. So, Michael, I don't have anything else. Very sad day. We still need to do a breakdown of the actual game. We didn't do that. We'll do that another day, probably like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yep, we will. We will. Thank you guys for watching. If you would like and subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we come out with a new one. Most of our episodes are live now, so if you want to hop on, we love all the interaction in the chat. Appreciate you guys taking the time. Hopefully there'll be brighter days in Columbus soon.
I am going to be calling into the college sports radio show tomorrow morning and pitching our show. I'm gonna come in there swinging hard. I haven't called into them in a couple of years. I used to call into them quite a bit. They let you actually speak your thoughts. I'm gonna call into them, speak maybe 2 minutes of my thoughts, pitch this podcast, and we'll see what happens. They're actually, they're a decent show. They're not like our show. Nobody's like our show. So that's it.
Awesome. All right. See you guys.